Now I'm very happy to welcome back a college football and horse racing expert that you've heard here many times. You can see him on Fox Sports Big Noon Kickoff and also listen to him on the Bear Bets podcast. Very excited to have Chris Fallica back to bring us some holiday spirit. You can follow Chris on Twitter at Chris, Fallica. Chris, how are things going? How you liking it over at Fox?
Everything's been great. It's a great group of guys that we have there. A little different, obviously, just from what I've been doing the last 20-something years. But change has been good. So I'm hey, I got to spend a month in Australia this summer covering the Women's World Cup. So that right there, that kind of raises the bar a little bit.
Well, for sure, my wife wants to go there. So I want to go too. Just want to wait till my youngest is a little older. You know what I'm saying? But it sounds like just a completely different world out there. And I was following you a little bit. I remember we got back super late, and that's why we couldn't do our futures bets. I do have a few rolling. I might discuss a little of that since we're coming up to championship week. But either way, here we are, man. And it is rivalry week. And also Thanksgiving. And, we love food, but we've done that to death. So I got a couple other ideas I want to bounce by you. By the way, I just had some Havarti with dill, so I do have to throw out one with the cheese. Havarti with dill it's phenomenal, man.
There you go. So I made a macaroni and cheese this last week. That's different than the mac and cheese that I normally make. I used some shells with it, and I used Havarti, Fontina, cheddar, and I cut the brine. The rind. I'm already thinking brining a turkey. I cut the rind off of the edge of the brie, and I put some brie in there as well. And it was really, really, really good. It melted down really well. So
four cheese texture, man. Cheese.
Yeah,
Four cheese with texture. Oh God, genius, my man. You got it all. I tell you. Well, you and I are both big cheese fans, but I'll tell you,
we are
Havarti with dill. It's just something nice to add to your little cheese board out there. It's just so delicious. Gives you a little tang with that dill. It is amazing. But what I want to run by you is a couple holiday hacks for people since we do food so much.
All right.
Maybe you can come up with one yourself. But I got 5 of them, and I kind of ranked them. I guess it doesn't matter if you rank them, but I'm gonna throw this one out for you. The fifth one here, number 5. Is doing year-round holiday lights. Now, I'm sick of putting them up and taking them down every single year, but my neighbors are starting to do this, and now with the LED technology, you literally have a cell phone app that controls them. You can make them purple for Halloween, orange for Thanksgiving, and Christmas lights, maybe a little New Year's. You can even keep them up through Easter and do some pastel colors. But man, I think that's a decent hack for this way, and even 4th of July, you can do red, white, and blue.
Interesting. I'm not really a light guy. I like leaving them up year round. It's kind of rough.
They're more built for it, but I think they also need to be hidden under an awning. So if you have the certain kind of roof, I think that you can get by doing that. But that's number 5. Number 4 is kind of important because I've screwed myself over on this a few times, Chris. Sometimes I'll eat hors d'oeuvres all the way up till dinner, and I'll be completely full by the time I hit dinner. I think we got to give ourselves an hour or so before that, and then save your dinner roll for last with the gravy instead of getting it first. I mean, that bread's delicious, and it's usually the first thing on the table, especially at restaurants. You kind of push that away and eat it for later. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you don't eat it early, you probably aren't going to eat it late. See, I like bread. So what I normally try to do, just do one piece. But I'm with you with the hors d'oeuvre and the appetizer. There have been times where we kind of overdid it on the hors d'oeuvres and the appetizers, and you're not even ready to. I mean, you want no part of your main meal. So I definitely think that's a good one. Trimming down the hors d'oeuvre or eating the snack earlier, and then maybe you spread dinner out a little bit later. But yeah, I do see you there. That's actually a little hack for people that trying. I mean, you just cut the carb out, but sometimes the bread looks. So, I mean, it depends.
I know.
If it's if it's just normal dinner roll or just an unappetizing bread, but if it's a really good bit of an Italian loaf, or it's got some like garlic and olive oil in it, if it's like a cheese stick or something, or like the pretzel bread is what gets me when they put those pretzel sticks in there with
Yeah.
that's bad.
I know, and that's the problem. Here's when I go out to dinner, they serve the bread, and like 20 minutes later, your food's out. I've eaten 3 or 4 pieces of bread. I'm like taking my food home, and if I forget in my car, then I'm just like, Jesus, just something I think about. But you know what my parents used to do is serve dessert like immediately after dinner. Now we quit doing that. I have dessert about 2 hours later. Man,
that's also a good idea, because maybe by then people have like left, or you don't even like. I don't want to eat dessert before you go to bed. That's kind of helpful as well.
Well, this is a good segue for my next one. And this is one that people should think about, whether they're, if not just at home, but definitely at someone else's house. Spend like 15 minutes helping people clean up after dinner.
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you right now, if you jump on that, the homeowner is going to realize that it's going to not just help your digestion moving around. It's going to make you feel good, and it's going to make you look good wherever you're at. And you'll always be invited to the next one.
Yeah, and you kind of plan it forward a little bit, because they're hosting, they're doing all the prep, they're doing all the cooking, and the least you can do is kind of step in there and at the very least help load the dishwasher or something. But yeah, that's just, it's sad that we have to say it, but doesn't it just seem like a common courtesy?
Yeah, yes, it does. But you haven't met my outer family, so there's people that just it doesn't even like come to them. And but at the same time, some people get talking to, and I don't blame people for not doing it. It's just such a good idea to do. And to be honest with you, once you do it, everyone else is going to do it. It's going to be done in a few minutes. Number two is start your holidays a little bit early. I mean, try not to be the last person at work. Maybe take a half day in that Wednesday, or the day before Christmas, take off. Yeah, I think getting ahead of things at first, because that means you're not forgetting it, like that last Christmas present. You're not forgetting to get that important piece of Thanksgiving. It just gives you a good start in a way to just kind of decompress, getting off a little early.
That's something that I've tried to do a better job with, like especially as we get towards like the how Christmas is like you don't need to like come up with like your gift list for what do I want to get a person X, like it's December 8th, and all of a sudden you just like throughout the year, like in your notes app or something, like if they give a hint, just jot it down in there. But even as it applies to Thanksgiving, like we've been like yesterday, cranberries were made. I just cooked some bacon up for some mashed potatoes and breakfast sandwiches. My wife's making the corn casserole right now. So like getting ahead to make tomorrow that much easier. So it's not just like the gift part of it and like doing like the good of getting yourself out of work, the actual like prep strategy of it, giving yourself that way. Anything you can do to make Thursday as least stressful as possible is always a good thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's a huge thing to do. And happy Thanksgiving to you, Jesse. Great capper, Jesse, stopping by to say hi. Now, number one, I feel a little dirty saying this, but Chris, is it fair to say that you and I consume a lot more football than the average man? Is that fair? A lot more sports than the average man in general? Is that fair?
I would say that's a good bet.
Okay. All right. So this one is the whole sports thing. Don't be the first person to sit in front of the TV by yourself when your wife drags you to the party, or even at your own house. You're just going to get in trouble doing that.
Oh, yeah.
We all have, Chris, and especially the fact that they let us consume so many sports during the week anyway. But I have a hack for that. When you're in the kitchen talking to people that come over, the family room's next door where the TV is. You maybe go to the bathroom, but what you do is you look around the TV, make sure no one's looking. You turn the game on. And you turn the volume up a little bit so people hear that. Get the heck out of there. Get to the bathroom, right? And then get back to the kitchen. And just the sound of the game is going to start drawing men in that room. And once that happens, it would be rude for you to not go join them and talk to them, Chris.
Exactly right. That's a great one. And you know what? I'm going to admit to actually doing something like that. It was the first Penguins Red Wings Stanley Cup final. I think they played twice, right? and the Wings won the first one, and the Penguins beat them the next year. But I remember I was at a wedding the night of one of the games. I forget what game it was, but it was at a very nice country club, and I was just kind of walking around, seeing what's going on, and someone was asking me. It was in the Midwest, so a lot of people actually were wanting to know what's going on. So I was able to. There was a TV. I went downstairs, and it was like a separate bar area downstairs that wasn't being used. Like the room was just dark, and the TV was off. But I saw, I'm like, oh, there's a TV on. So I actually wound up turning that TV on, went back up, and was like, yeah, I saw there was a TV down there. I mean, maybe turn the game on down there, and people followed it. We wound up watching the rest of the game down there, and the bride even came down because she was a massive hockey fan. So she actually came down and started watching watching Penguins Wings with us for a little while too. So it was great.
I love it, man. I mean, carefully, my wife would catch me doing that, know exactly what I'm doing, and I don't know if she'd be too happy, but hey, whatever works for you. But that's so fun that you did that. We're strategic in these ways. The degenerate really comes out on us in these situations, but if you do it strategically, you won't get in trouble. I think that's really huge. So yeah, man, those are some hacks that I was thinking about. If you guys have any hacks too, feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. I'd be really curious to hear of any awesome ideas that you have to help a brother out, watch some sports, or just get through the holidays. So we'll see if you guys have any great ideas. And Jesse's going to have tomahawk ribeyes because he's in Thailand. So there you go. I have a listener question.
Is he hanging with Roxy?
What's
Roxy,
that?
I was going to say, is he hanging with Roxy over in Thailand?
I don't know. I don't know if Jesse knows Roxy. I would assume he knows Roxy. Chris introduced me to Roxy. Chris goes to Thailand a lot too. And I don't know, Jesse, you know Roxy. Feel free to answer if you're still here.
I know he does spend time in Vegas as well, but this might be a time of year we're still over there.
Yeah, maybe. The weather's starting to cool off a little too much, so maybe he went back there. I know he was. I saw him there in August when I was there at the circus. So great guy. Give me this cool pen that lights up.
Oh, terrific.
I'll try to find it during one of our things. But here we go. Listener question from Dima. So I know you're going to say the answer already, but he said that he's asking, is there any big prices that you can currently like in the NFL awards market? He said Hurts at $250 for MVP, plus $250. Campbell for plus $150. Probably Defensive Player of the Year. Campbell for coach, not Calais Campbell. And then Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year at plus $110. So Campbell for coach. I mean, these numbers are bad, but what do you think on any NFL futures?
I certainly wouldn't bet Jalen Hurts at that price to be MVP. Yeah, the Eagles are winning games, but Hurts has not been fantastic this year. That's something I wouldn't play. I do have a Myles Garrett at 6-1 from earlier this year as Defensive Player of the Year, so I am all in on that. I do think he ultimately will win. Coach of the Year was something that we were kicking around on the Bear Bets podcast the other day. Is there still a path? Again, the numbers on these guys are so terrible. It might be time to eat a little Dan Campbell with the plus money, because I do have a nice D'Amico Ryans price. I've got a nice Mike Tomlin price, and I got a nice Kevin O'Connell price. So I think between those three, I would have the winner outside of, and again, I got Tomlin and O'Connell at 22, 23-1, and Ryans at 9-1. So I got better numbers that are out there now, so I can kind of afford to take a little Dan Campbell at the number that he is, because I do think it will be one of those guys. I know somebody mentioned Kevin Stefanski, if the Browns make the playoffs with the hodgepodge of quarterback that they've had, he's 30-1 or so, 28-1. I think the MVP still is really interesting, and I know listening to Gil this morning, he was making a really good case for Brock Purdy, who's right around 16-1 or so. You look at some of the statistics he leads the league in, and it's a pretty good argument. And again, this is going to be a team that's probably going to go 13-4 or so, and Hurts hasn't necessarily been great. Mahomes, is he really? you put Brock Purdy stats next to Patrick Mahomes stats and tell me what you think. But I think of all of like the double digit prices that are out there, I think Purdy at 15, 16 to 1 to be MVP is probably the one that I would most be interested in betting.
Yeah, Mahomes shouldn't be there on his stats alone, just based on the fact that their defense is so awesome. And even if he has a great finish, that's what they're going to say. I mean, that Chiefs defense is for real, man. And at 4-1 is just a terrible price on him. I don't get me wrong; he's the best player in the league, in my opinion. I mean, you can say if you want to make an argument for MVP, like Jordan, but back in the day, they should win it every year. But at the same time, Purdy is just blatantly obvious at 15-1. I agree with Gil there. And I've also heard that from Mitch and Paulie, too, looking at Brock Purdy, I believe. Jalen Hurts plus 250, Lamar Jackson plus 250. Stay away from those low numbers.
Yeah.
Those are terrible now. And if you missed them before, they can get hurt or injured at any time. You know, that is not worth the risk. It's awesome that you have some great numbers, though, Chris. Coach of the year, I got burned last year on Doug Peterson. I thought he deserved it. I think this year's kind of showing a little bit of that. But, you know, in our mutual friend Will, he knew exactly what he was doing, and he had a great number, and I'm glad Will won for that. But either way, you know, I think that the coach of the year is probably bad priced with Campbell and Ryans, like you mentioned. Now, the problem with coach of the year, I can make a case for 10 of these guys. I can't, you know? I mean, Shane Steichen's doing better than he should. Mike Tomlin, that record's ridiculous. You know, Kevin O'Connell doing all that without a quarterback. D'Amico Ryans, the Texans are just coming out of nowhere. Dan Campbell, the Lions are possibly the number one seed. You know, there's just so many things you can say about these coaches. I think Kyle Shanahan's the best coach personally, and you know, he's 22-1. So if you think they actually change their mind and give it to the guy that's actually the best coach, then he might be the one.
A couple of those decisions that Kyle made in the against the Rams in the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago, there might be some people who disagreeing with you on that assessment. That's for sure.
Okay, well, you know, he's had some mistakes, and that's one game, but man, he's really getting through the regular season. Yeah, I think he made it to the Super Bowl. He made some mistakes also in this beginning of the first half, but still, his schemes and his plays and the way he gets his players fired up has been almost second to none. So, you know, I guess that's the answer right there. Don't take anything low, I suppose, Dima. That's what Chris and I probably suggest. And unfortunately, you can get too invested in some of these markets at times. And, you know, the MVP market, Chris has great numbers, I think, on, what was it, Bo Nix, you said. And don't you have Nix and Jalen Daniels?
No, I do have Bo Nix, but I did not get it until it was around plus 275 or so, because I was truly convinced that either JJ McCarthy or Jaden Daniels was going to win. So yeah, I got Jaden Daniels at 35-1. I got JJ McCarthy at 30-1. So I mean, McCarthy's obviously out. His game is kind of fallen off, but I did buy some Bo Nix at plus 275. So okay. I feel good that I've kind of, I don't want to say ARB calculated it out or whatever you want to call it, that I do feel pretty good. I'm in a good position where I think I think Daniels should win. If I had a vote, that's who I would vote for. Mm-hmm. But I look, if Bo Nix wins, that's fine too. He's a very deserving candidate. But I'm just going to be curious. I do think, though, push comes to shove, if Oregon does win the Pac-12 championship game and they win the Civil War this week and make the playoff, I think the majority of the voters will vote for Bo Nix, and I think he will win. But if Washington were to win that Pac-12 title game, I think Jaden Daniels certainly is alive because I think he's certainly what he's doing is a historic season.
Historic with a terrible defense, you know. At least Joe Burrow's LSU team had a little bit better of a defense. It wasn't a great defense, but it was definitely better than what they have right now.
Yeah, you can't fault Daniels for the 3 losses, which he's been unbelievable in. And his defense has allowed 50, 38, and 35 points, or whatever the hell it is in those games, and he's been fantastic. So
Right.
he's leading the country in total offense by like 80-something yards a game. It's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Jeez. It reminds me a little of Lamar Jackson's MVP season. It's kind of the same stats, same situation, 2 or 3 losses. I think Lamar had that year. I think that he will. I assume he'll play his bowl game. It's probably going to be a later bowl, so we'll get into that. The bowl. I think there's going to be a lot of people sitting out this year for the bowls, but we'll see how that.
Oh, I would think so too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get some games, man. We didn't pick the Egg Bowl, Michigan, Ole Miss versus Mississippi State, but the only way I would bet is Ole Miss. But it's just these games are just so weird that your numbers can just have one a massive favorite, but the rivalry part really comes in a lot. And I don't like laying points like that in rivalry games. Things that happen that don't make sense during those games the way rivalries are. So it's just my number's 12.5. It's 10. I'm staying away. I'm guessing you're staying away too, or
yeah. I've got no play on this game. It maybe could be like I might look at like a Mississippi State team total under if I'm looking at something, because I know Will Rogers came back, but he has not been good this year at all. And I have the thing I would be most confident about is Mississippi State not putting up a bunch of points in this game. But who the heck knows? Maybe defensively they'll do a decent enough job on Ole Miss and slow them down. But no real thought on the side.
It just feels like Lane Kiffin's going to want to kill them, but then all of a sudden it comes down to it. They get punched in the mouth real quick. Everything changes. Yeah, it's just one of those, in my opinion. I'm going to stay away from that. But let's get into some of these Friday games. And, wow, you picked a wonderful game here to talk about, Chris. Memphis versus Temple. Temple is now plus 13 at home as a home dog.
It's up to 13?
On DraftKings.
Let's up.
See. Yeah. Did something happen? I thought it was 11 earlier when I looked.
Yeah, I saw 11.5 when I did the Bear Bets pod yesterday and wrote my column. I saw 11.5. Seriously, am I getting 13.5 now? 13?
You're getting 13 right now, and it looks like on our Betfred Sports Odds screen, it is at 13. Home dog plus 13. This might move even more in your favor, but here you go. Total is so high at 64, my man. Why don't you fire away? What do you have?
I love Temple in this game. I don't know if Memphis is really going to care about this game. They lost the game last week, which eliminated them from any contention of getting to the AAC title game. Wow. A Temple with Warner, they got a good passing game. Memphis's defense has been terrible. It's going to be a miserable atmosphere Black Friday noon. Could be cold and dreary. Wow. You made my day. I'm glad I actually get a better number now. That's good. Perfect.
Well, that is great. What's interesting is that this Temple is a situation that I like to bet. They're just so freaking ugly. My power ratings will not agree with it. It's got like 16, 17 points to Memphis. But at the same time, why would Memphis care to win this game so bad? What would they be playing for, right? I think that's kind of what the situation is. They're not exactly improving anything for their bowl status here. They have no shot at winning the conference, right? So, that's that. I think it's Temple or nothing for me. But hey, and then you got 13. I wait out a little bit more and hit it again if you haven't hit it.
Yeah, I can say maybe set it to 13.5.
Yeah, you might get some good numbers here. And Memphis has let me down a lot. And I think against Missouri, I was really lucky. I had +7 Memphis, and they had a back door to get to
bad defense, bad defensive team.
Oh, it was a terrible defensive team. But this is also a terrible game. So if you have something better to do, like me, go hang out some Christmas lights that are going to last all year long. So see how that goes. Let's move on to the next game. We have here's another fun game. Iowa versus Nebraska. Nebraska -2.5. And when I wrote this total down, I'm like, is this even half of LSU's team total this week? It's 26, dude. I've never seen anything like this. I don't even think I've seen the military, Army versus Navy this low, Chris.
Yeah,
and I'm still not betting the over.
I was just going to say, and can you possibly bet over? I sure as hell couldn't.
Man, no, I can't. I can't because this is just these offenses are horrible. Both are on their backup of the backup type quarterbacks. But I hate to say it, Chris, I am making a play on this, and I feel terrible doing it. And I was lucky with Wisconsin last week. I actually had Wisconsin -4.5. I bought back half at +7, so that pushed. Wisconsin did not deserve that cover at all last week.
No, they did not.
Yeah, they did not. And I saw a little fight in Chuba Purdy, and I like that name, Chuba Purdy. You know, his brother's rocking it a little bit. He got his feet wet at Wisconsin. He's now at home. Here's why I'm betting Nebraska. And if you actually look at the stats and just put your hands over the turnover margin, just put your hands over that. Please, God, you're at home. Do not turn over. Nebraska's
you
you can't, but they're at home, and you got a different quarterback now in Purdy. Now, he will turn it over if he's desperate, but Nebraska's got the better run defense. They allowed 2.83 yards per carry. Iowa's 3.14. And this is why this total's so low, because they can't throw and they can't run against each other. So this could be a 3-0 game. Oh, please be 2-0, Chris. But please let this game finish 2-0, because I'm taking the money line here. I'm not laying points. I'm taking Nebraska -130. And that's what I thought. But Nebraska's actually got the better yards per play, 0.42 to 0.16. Nebraska's now got quarterback, that's kind of hungry. I think he's going to be the starter next year in Brock's brother. Deacon Hill is worse than what Nebraska has, I think. If they can maybe, I'm not saying get a punt return, but man, just try to chop away at some of these yards. They did move the ball against Wisconsin, and they moved it pretty well. Nebraska has a bowl that they need to get into for the first time in a long time, and Matt Rule's a good enough coach for that. Now, I don't bet on teams because they have to make bowls, but I do look at it as a spot where not only that, Iowa has nothing to – does Iowa need another win? They need to try something in the Big Ten championship game when they get demolished against Ohio State or Michigan. So, if something goes wrong for Iowa, I could see them kind of dogging it later. I took the money line.
The interesting thing, and you just said on team needing a win to get to a bowl. I always tread carefully when you get to things like that, because if he's and you know what, Dr. Bob has said it a lot, if it's a must-win game for a team, it must mean that they're not very good. And if you need your sixth win by now, you've had a bunch of chances to get that sixth win. So you probably lost a bunch of games that you had opportunities to win to already get to six, and now you're kind of last guess. So I often think at times, because that's baked into the number and what people are betting. They're actually maybe. I have no way of proving this because I haven't gone back and looked, nor will I go back and look because it's a futile effort to do. Teams they might be better to bet against these teams that need to win because people are automatically thinking they will cover or win these games. So just maybe tread a little carefully when you just see a team might be sitting on 5 and 6 and they need a win. Certainly, I agree with Kiev's handicap here, but it's not an automatic. You're playing a 5 and 6 team that needs.
Just like you say with trends all the time when you give them out every week, it's like this is just part of your handicap. It was just one of the 5 or 6 things I just mentioned, right? Yeah, absolutely. Do not think that you're going to get by doing that in situations, because this is still a rivalry game. Playing for corn rights, for playing for extra fields you can plow in this situation. So yeah,
or as Big Cat said, it's Iowa versus body double Iowa.
That's pretty much where they belong is right now in the Big Ten, unfortunately, because my Big Ten West is absolutely pitiful.
It's the worst division in college football. It's at least amongst the Power 5. But
it's worse than the Sun.
Shout out by the way to Chuba Purdy's dad, Sean Purdy. I went to school with him in Miami. He's a baseball pitcher at Miami when I was down there. So good family genes going there.
Oh, look at that little Miami. Yeah, you don't have to worry about Miami. It's basketball season too. Just remember.
We are a basketball school, exactly.
A little back from the comments. Yeah, Jesse says he's in Chiang Mai, and Moxie's in fuck it, I believe, right? FPHUKET, isn't that how I say it?
Yeah,
It's very strange.
exactly how it should be said.
Very, very strange thing. I always laugh when I see the Thai restaurants say that. And then, yeah, he thinks that he kind of likes the Ole Miss in this because they're just going to run all over him. But Sean Kanaki's got a question for you. He says, do you have any thoughts on the Clark Stakes at Churchill on Friday? I mean, we're going right back into horse.
I haven't looked. I have not. I have not downloaded any PPs yet for this weekend. Maybe I can get something done Friday morning, but beforehand. I know there's a big pick six carryover. I think at Del Mar too. But I unfortunately have not had an opportunity to look at any horse racing this week. It's the thing that stinks about this week is that like everything is condensed and moved up because of the holidays. So getting the pod done, getting my columns done, getting the script done for like everything's been done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now family here for Thanksgiving. I'm not going to be able to slip away and look at the ponies tomorrow. So maybe I can squeeze a little time in on Friday morning, depending on my travels and meeting schedule over there in Ann Arbor.
I'm sure our guy Sean would love if you tweet something out about it. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm taking this personally, by the way, here from General Mitchie Moss. He just listed me a plus 725 to win the green jacket. The fifth choice. I'm 2 points back.
That's not bad.
2 points back of a repeat, and he's posting 725. I might put a little money on myself there to.
Well, there you go.
Plus 725.
Double invest plus 725. That'll help you out here, man.
I had a good week last week. I was 5-2, and I was mad because the final game it came down to Notre Dame laying the points and Cincinnati plus the points, and I took the dog, and UC was never in the game, and Notre Dame predictably blew out.
I was on West Virginia last week.
Yeah, a lot of people were. I
guess it was one of those Cincinnati. It's like, are you going to double down on them like Temple again? Some people are on Cincinnati too this week, I've heard.
Yeah, I did have Temple last week. They were the right side against UAB until they weren't the right side.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, Chris has got this going. And then I look later, I'm like, what the heck is happening? Well, that's how it is sometimes. But let's have some fun with North Carolina versus NC State here. And wow, this is a spread that just smells a little bit towards the NC State's at plus 2.5, huh? North Carolina.
I don't know why North Carolina is favored, to be honest with you. North Carolina has not played well against FBS teams the last month of the season. They've lost for three of the four, and the one win was an incredibly fortunate, lucky win against Duke in Chapel Hill. Defensively, they've given up 36, 45, 41. 31 in the last 4 games against the FBS teams. Throw out that game against Campbell. That doesn't matter. I mean, this is a trend that we've seen the last few years, where UNC gets off to that good start. People think they might be a contender in the ACC, and then they just absolutely collapse as the season goes on. This is probably the best coaching job that Dave Duran has done. Defensively, they've been great. They have not had great quarterback play all season long, but I know they've had maybe a little bit of turnover luck, which obviously matters. You wonder maybe this is the final time we'll see Drake May in North Carolina uniform, because the bowl that they're going to be going to is not going to be of the New Year 6 or playoff variety. So I took NC State plus 2.5. If you want to buy it up to 3, you can do that. But I think there's a good chance that the wrong team's favored here.
Yeah. Here's my recency type rating has North Carolina and NC State to pick them. But if I use long term, it's 4.25. But I'd go with recency a lot more, because I think I'm undervaluing NC State with some of the stuff they've been good to me since the Notre Dame choke. I was on them against Notre Dame, and they were within 7 in the third quarter. Then boom, it spun out of control. I think a lot of people are on NC State plus 8, but they've been a lot better since then. Yeah, Dave Duran. He got this defense a little bit more on track, and man, he works some magic with the quarterbacks. I thought that the one that they had was there to stay. And his name's left my mind right now, but they've got a good quarterback that's playing good football right now. Oregon State versus Oregon, Chris. I'm picking Oregon State versus Oregon, and This is minus 13.5. The total is 62. And I texted you on Sunday, or Monday. I said, man, I wish I bought back on Washington last week. But here's the funny thing. This was Oregon State's home run spot. I mean, last week was. And they blew it. It's just, you had it
AJ
in front
did
of
not
them.
have a good game at all.
No. He was one part. He made my ugly this week on the earlier show. He made my ugly. It was bad. But at the same time, how do you get up for this game, even though it's a rivalry? I mean, you're not playing for anything here. Maybe to try to upset your Oregon. But I'll tell you right now, man, the way Oregon had it easy last week against a quarterback-less ASU team. My son was at that game, by the way. I was like, son, you might be leaving by halftime before you left. I was like, tell your friend's dad to bring me. I'm like, what the hell? But anyways, it was it just made it so easy for them. And now that one loss, they're gonna. I just feel this is a spot they're gonna put a pounding on Oregon State, man. And I don't normally lay 13.5, Chris. You know me. But it's a statement game, and it's a statement to get back into that top 4 discussion, to get that respect. And they have the defense that it takes to slow down a rushing team like the Beavers. They only allow 3.4 rushing yards per attempt, 4.8 yards per play. But dude, that would be better if they didn't have the scrubs in a lot of these fourth quarters, right? I think that would be even better. So people look at stats, but they have to remember that, especially with our days with Georgia and Bama capping all those games, that they're better than the numbers even show in some situations. The Ducks have a 1.5 net yard per play advantage. Oregon ranks number 2 in EPA margin. Home road splits. Both teams are great at home, and both teams are bad on the road. So I'm laying the points here. I was saying, do I get a 13 here? And a couple books pop 13, but I'm like, you know what? To give it out to our members here, I'm giving out 13.5. This is going to go back 14 years.
And I think if you factor in, they'll probably want to get Bo Nix some Heisman padding type stats in here. And the other thing, I wonder if subliminally the team is kind of, I don't want to say at the end of its rope, but like it's your final Pac-12 game. You're playing your rival. You know your coach is gone. Like he's probably going to go to Michigan State. The assistants are probably behind the scenes figuring out whether to go to.
Great point about Smith.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I'm with you. It would be Oregon or pass for me.
Yeah. I this could be over by half. I might even bet the half as well in this. Okay, Colorado, Utah minus 22, total 51. Chris, I feel like you're kind of having the same type of thoughts that I just did about Oregon.
I laid 21.5. I found 21.5 on FanDuel. I don't know if it's still there, but I know 22 I would still happily lay. Like they're like I would be shocked if Shedeur Sanders played. Like he got beat up last week. The offensive line is terrible.
His own dad might not let him play.
Yeah. The offensive, the change of coordinator to Shermer was terrible from Lewis. Like you lost 56-14 or whatever the hell it was up at the Palouse last week, and Colorado was just not good. And it's funny, you look before the year, if you would have said Colorado was going to finish 4-8, you would have been like, yeah, that's a decent, yeah, okay. And then from where they were at the start, when they pulled a couple of upsets and or the one upset against TCU and came back to beat Colorado State. Like if you had under 3.5 wins, you were probably right. But I think Colorado is the bad team that takes everybody's best shot, and you're going to get Utah's best shot, especially after the Utes came off of that embarrassing loss last week where they were non-competitive against Arizona. Remember, we saw that last month when Oregon went to Salt Lake and absolutely put a number on Utah. The following week was that 55-3 beatdown of ASU. I think we could see a similar type of situation here. Yes, I know Utah is down a bunch of guys, but Utah is still a program. They're going to set Pac-12 titles consecutively here. So it's like this is a real team that they're facing here with Colorado. So this could be along the lines of like, again, 49-10. Something like that.
I mean, the trenches should be big enough here for Utah to put their foot down and just run up the score as much as they want. And they're going to get it. They're going to take some frustration out. I agree with you. Yeah, is Shador going to the NFL or is he? I would think so, but I don't know.
Oh no, is he? I think he's coming back.
For his dad, right?
I think he's going to run it back with his dad, and I think he's going to and Travis Hunter. I think as long as he gets him, he'll get his NIL money to keep him there, and they'll bring in some offensive linemen somewhere. I think he runs it back.
Yeah, why not? I think he runs it back too. They'll probably actually focus on transfers for the line. And yeah, I want Deion to succeed. I think a lot of people hate him for some reason, maybe because he's popular but got a little bit of ego. But I think he's good for the game personally. I like to see.
It's funny you said that because I think I actually talked about this a little bit on the pod yesterday with Jeff, Sammy P, and Will. Like I think at the start of the year, everybody was so excited. Like they wanted to see it work. They wanted to see him do well. They were rooting for him. And I think as the year has gone on, I think maybe there is a little bit of a school of thought out there. Like, all right, he's taking his now. He came in, overhauled the roster, did this to the staff, brash. And like I think there are probably some people out there kind of reveling in the fact that they're struggling, but I hope he does do well. I mean, right. I think it's yet a Hall of Fame player coming back to coach college football. Like that's a great like model example to show that former players can potentially do a really good job. So we'll see what happens next year. But I think as the year went on, I think they're a little more like people who kind of like rolling their eyes and such.
Yeah, and the reason you heard those Microsoft chimes, I was looking for this in a couple other books. They pulled it probably because of the Shador Sanders situation. So, it's I'm hoping for Colorado next year. It's going to be exciting to see what this season win total comes out. And a lot of changes for next year, like the 12-team playoff, Chris. And I'm hoping for chaos this year. I'm so sick of them getting it right because of the fifth team just not deserving it, man. I know we've had our differences with that, but man, I think it's just better for schools in general to have a shot at it, my friend. And I don't know if you come around on that, but
no, it should be hard. It should be hard, but I am not going to sit here and say that I'm not going to watch these games or I'm not going to bet on these games. I just don't think you're really expanding the group of national title contenders. You're expanding the number of fan bases that can watch college football and say that their team is in the playoffs.
And that's what I was hoping for. It'll make recruits stay at home, but we'll wait and see about that. We don't need to touch on that subject anymore, my friend. Let's move on to the next game, and probably the biggest game of the weekend, maybe the biggest game of the year. Ohio State versus Michigan. Michigan 3.5. The total's now 46. Looks like it went down some. Would you like to get started on this?
Yeah, I hope that total keeps coming down because I got it late Saturday night. It went on FanDuel when they posted a 47.5, and I was able to just bet what I could on that look ahead line right there, assuming that this might get down to like 44.5 or 44 or so. So I'm a little surprised, maybe disappointed that it hasn't come down further yet. I see 45.5 at bookmakers, so maybe that's an indication that it still does have a little ways to go to come down.
I think it goes to 44.5. I think it'll go to 44.
That's what I thought when I made the bet, and I was like, maybe I can get 40, 45, 46, 47 as maybe buy back some for a little bit of a middle if I wanted to.
Well, I think your real position is the under, though, right? Your real position.
Yeah. I'm quite happy with 47.5. But are you a little worried that Ohio State might be a little trendy of an underdog here? Like, I know Michigan is not look great. It did not look. McCarthy's playing with a bad ankle. Their pass pro has not been good. But down to 3.5 here, it seems like almost a little too much of an adjustment because it's not like Ohio State's quarterback play has been great and earth-shattering at all against the better teams that they have played. So I don't know if I trust McCord and that offensive line to go on the road and win this game. So if I had to play the side, I would look at laying the 3.5 with Michigan. I think 46 is probably still a good number to get in on before it goes any lower if you're looking to go under. I know a lot of people have just talked about, you look at the last 10, 12 years in this rivalry, and the games have all gone over this total. But I think the situation here with the way shaky O-line, shaky quarterback play, this might be one of those kind of win the surest way, two good defenses, and maybe this is along the lines of 20-17, 23-17, something like that.
And it's weird to see Ohio State get kind of blown out the last 2 years. I took a position at 4 because I knew it was coming down. I think I'm good in the position for a couple of reasons. Now, the recruits actually even favor Ohio State a little bit if you want to look at total stars and things like that. I agree that the quarterback is better with McCarthy. That's the position that Michigan has, of course, with their big houses, as you see right behind me here. Playing at home is huge. But the whole Harbaugh thing is weird. I think Harbaugh doesn't mean anything to a spread when they're playing Maryland or other teams, but I think he does mean something in these big games. And it's almost like, does Michigan kind of feel like they're expecting to win this situation? I mean, I like how they're using it like the world against us, and I think that's a smart way of looking at it. But at the same time, even with as average-ish as McCord is, Marvin Harrison fixes that a lot, man. I mean, in Wisconsin's not a good team, but it was a tough spot. It was a night game, and man, that guy just looks like a man amongst children when he's playing wide receiver out there. I didn't know how tall that dude was. He looks bigger than everybody else somehow.
He's so strong.
Oh, dude, he's the top wide receiver in my opinion. I know Hunter's really good too, but man, I feel like he can even this thing out a little bit. And you can talk strength of schedule, and this is why Michigan's got the little better stats, but at least Ohio State played at Notre Dame. They probably should have lost that game, Chris. I was on Notre Dame. They got out of the hook. But, they went to Wisconsin. I think Ohio State kind of got better and better and figured some of their faults. And I have a 3-point game. I mean, my power rating's at a 3.25 because I did upgrade Ohio State throughout the season a little bit. And Jim Harbaugh, I'm okay with my 4. I'm not going to put a buyback unless something happens. But, if I get real scared, I'll just tease Iowa up to 8.5, man. Tease with Michigan. It's like, he's like, tease college football. Even when the total's 26 points. It's like,
that's what Will was talking about yesterday. He's like, a 10-point teaser, 16? I go, I guess, but like, there's certainly a non-zero chance that game ends 13-10 or like 13-3.
Exactly. And so
10-6.
It could be a 10-0 game. Yeah, a 9-0. I mean, that's just such an ugly game. And it's half kidding. But I'm okay with the 4. I think it's a 3-point game. I'm okay with 3.5 too. I think that Ohio State keeps it close. And this could be a situation where Michigan hasn't fallen themselves in too often, possibly down a score or so, maybe the second quarter or something like that. I think the thing about Ryan Day is that he's had his bad games against Michigan, but he can scheme something up to possibly jump them a little bit and give McCord a little confidence. The way they both beat Penn State was pretty disgusting. I was on Penn State that game, and I am +7, and it closed at 3.5, 4, and I still lost that bet, and I was just
That's the thing. It's a rare opportunity for Ohio State and Ryan Day to be an underdog and get to play that roll up some, for sure.
Well, let's talk a couple random games before we go. Alabama, Auburn. It's funny. How is nobody mentioning the Iron Bowl, Chris? I mean, 14.5 is the spread though, and Auburn's a home dog. Total 48, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't bet New Mexico State, and I had them circled to bet, and I always sprinkle money line on that. I always sprinkle money, but I didn't bet them because I just didn't know about Pava, and I just got too busy watching the games. And then all of a sudden the game starts, I'm like, oh Jesus, I forgot. And of course they freaking win outright after they embarrass Ole Miss. I've never seen a different team from week to week. This much of it, you beat Ole Miss, a good top 20-ish team, whatever. And then you lose to New Mexico State and Jerry Kill.
Well, they lost to Ole Miss.
Who they beat last week? Who they beat the week before? They beat somebody the week before, or was it? I'll check it out.
Was it maybe Mississippi State? That might have been.
Oh, Arkansas. It was Arkansas. Sorry. They blew out Arkansas by 38 points. That was the week before. You're right. They did lose to Ole Miss by 7. But still, I mean, that's it. Arkansas was supposed to be good, but then they go in New Mexico State. So thanks for correcting me. I apologize. I should have said Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. They beat a bad Arkansas team. But either way, yeah, you beat an SEC team away by 28 points, and then you lose to New Mexico by 21 points. Are you doing anything with this thing?
I have nothing pre-game on this one. Like every part of me would want to take Auburn plus the points, but it's a hard bet to swallow, knowing you have a really bad offense against an Alabama team that is looking to kind of put up some gaudy numbers to try and make a case for the playoff. And certainly, if they lose to Georgia next week, it doesn't matter. But they have an opportunity to win a fourth straight game against Auburn in this rivalry for the first time in a long time. I can't see Alabama taking its foot off the gas here. It seems like since that USF game, they finally let Milroe be the athlete and the runner that he can be. Defensively, they're playing a heck of a lot better as well. Excuse me. Sorry there. I would take Auburn if I had to play the game, but certainly not anything that I would feel great about.
I mean, the scary thing is power rate wise have a 13.5, so it slightly leans Auburn. And then if you think about dog and rivalry and the fact that Alabama's got a very big game on deck, if Alabama just happened to lose this game, they're still in the SEC championship, right? I'm pretty sure that they have a.
Oh no, they're playing. No, they're in the game. I mean, obviously,
they're in the game no matter what.
Yeah. Would be gone with 2 losses,
right.
But
right. Okay. I'm going to lean Auburn. I'm probably not going to play it unless somebody else gets me over the hump. Kentucky, Louisville. It's funny to see Louisville -7 here because Kentucky historically has been really owning this matchup for the last 5-6 years or whatever it's been. But now you've got a new quarterback, so I don't look at the trend. New coach, Jeff Brown, and new quarterback, of course. And Louisville, are they thinking about Florida State? I wouldn't be thinking about Florida State with the horrible luck they just had last week. I mean, in a bye game against Northern Alabama. It's almost like you feel like, should we be starting our starters and maybe bring them in if we're like in a tie game in the third quarter? But it almost makes you rethink that whole situation that late in the year when you've done everything right until your quarterback gets injured. What a tragedy, Chris.
Yeah, it really is. I would play the over in this Kentucky Louisville game. I mean, seeing Brom is such a great offensive coach. The schemes and the play, despite being down guys, he draws up some plays and makes some defenses look really, really bad and fine. He finds the fish, for the lack of a better word, which is when, for those who are not familiar with that term, you're always looking as a coordinator or a coach, like for the one guy on the defense that you want to attack. Well, he finds him, and he does a great job. This is not a great Kentucky defense compared to what Mark Stoops has had in the past. I do think Kentucky will still score some points. This is an over game for me.
I'm kind of mad. I wrote down 7. It said 7.5. When I did this yesterday, I wrote down 7. I was really leaning Louisville here. I think it was 10.5. It wouldn't shock me if Louisville's defense kind of stuffs Kentucky a little bit too. It's just kind of like get that revenge from all the years before, just give your butt kick type thing. That's interesting. What's really funny is I have a 40-1 ticket on Oklahoma State to win the Big 12 championship now. That was that was one of that was like, I thought I was dead. I took it back in July, and then everybody's against Oklahoma State picking their season wins under and all that. I'm like, they're probably right. These are new guys. A lot of people transferred out. Spencer Sanders is gone, but hey, I was on the right side of the whole time. And now they could lose to BYU as 17-point favorites, and then I'd be gone, my friend. I mean, I'll be watching that game. I'll be like the only guy watching that game unless you live in Utah or something. I hope that they they win this game. But man, I'll tell you this: I want to hedge out of that, and I'm curious what the line's going to be against Texas. I'd say about 7. But man, Do you think they could drop something like that at home against BYU's terrible play?
No, I don't. I think BYU's circle the wagons type game was last week when they gave OU all they could really handle in pro. I think OU is interesting. I mean, I don't know anything, but I would think it's going to be very hard for Dylan Gabriel to play, having gotten a concussion on Saturday, and now you play early on Friday. Like that seems like a very quick turnaround for someone in concussion protocol. And who knows if Jalil Farouk is going to play? Like OU could be down some guys. I actually did like TCU plus the points in this game. I know Jackson Arnold is this all-world recruit, but he's still a freshman. Still doesn't have a ton of playing time. It'll probably take a little while.
Right. Yeah, I agree too. BYU's banged up. Very interesting situation with them. Another rivalry, Indiana-Purdue. I find interesting. Purdue's minus 3.5. Your total 54. I haven't done much with this game. Tom Allen's a fiery guy. I lean Purdue here in this situation. Probably not going to play it. Pretty high total at 54. I kind of like the under.
Yeah, I might take Indiana here. I think Tom Allen's one of those. I think he's probably going to get fired, but I do think his team plays hard for him for whatever reason. They just can't get over the hump other than the 2020 COVID year where they put together a magical type season. But I think Tom Allen's probably coaching his last game in Bloomington. I would be surprised if they did not put forth a really good effort for him on Saturday.
No doubt about that. All right, man. Well, we hit a lot of college stuff. Real quick, do you have anything for the NFL for our listeners out there?
Yeah, I like the Patriots laying the 3 against the Giants. Like Tommy DeVito, he played well last week, but are you gonna does that mean he all of a sudden he's a good quarterback and the Giants are going to turn their season around here? Like Washington turned the ball over 6 times last week, and they had the ball with 5 turnovers and a chance to win the game before the pick 6. Like call me skeptical that the Giants season is going to turn around based on what happened last week. It's still one of the worst teams in the league. Numbers down to 3. I know the Patriots are not great either, but I think the Patriots may get a little bit of a boost. I'm expecting Bailey Zappi to start, and I think that will go over well in the locker room. Well, as long as it's anybody but Mac Jones, that will go over well in the locker room. I don't think it's going to be Mac Jones. I think Belichick against DeVito, advantage Belichick. So I did lay the 3 with the Patriots against the Giants.
All right, 3 points. And be careful. Don't take 3.5. Find the 3. The most key number, obviously. If you're a big listener to this show, you already been knowing that for years. But, yeah, it's funny. I took 3.5 for the Giants, but I wouldn't take 3 because I have a rule that when there's 2 bad teams play each other, you take the points. Although the Giants are pretty bad. They're the lowest team on the power ratings, man. I mean, can the Patriots do something here and get out of embarrassment? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I would assume it's not Mac Jones playing, but man, that's a ballsy pick of you picking the Patriots in this situation. It's do or die.
It's the type of week it is in the NFL, man. It's not the most attractive NFL week, but that looked like the best of a bad bunch of games.
What about is there a downgrade or an upgrade from Wilson to Boyd?
Zach Wilson to Tim Boyle? I don't know how there possibly could be a downgrade. Zach Wilson, terrible.
Well, the market moved from 7.5 to 10.
I don't get it. I don't know why. I get people just want to he's the backup to Zach Wilson. He must really suck. But I think you're gonna. I mentioned it with the Patriots. Being a Jets fan and when watching this team week in and week out, defensively they're still putting forth effort, knowing that they have no chance of scoring on offense, 0. And the fact that they're now going to be rid of Zach Wilson at quarterback and have an opportunity to get a different guy in there, that might give the defense and everybody else around them a little bit of a jolt, a little bit of a boost, knowing that they're no longer saddled with the Zach Wilson albatross. So it was funny when I did the Megapod with Gil and Todd and Will before. Gil always asked who's the big favorite that if it came back to you on Monday and he said they lost, who would it be? And I thought it would be the Dolphins for all those reasons. This number up to 10 now, I think, is too big of a move.
I mean, here's the thing. How the heck does a coach let him? And this happened last year. If the team hates him, how do you last so long starting at quarterback? You know, you're better off with Tommy DeVito, or someone like that. You know, of course, which boy, you know, it's just this could be this like the Kansas City Chiefs type game that they had. You know, and the weather's not going to be great. It's cold.
Right.
Isn't it going to kind of rain out there too?
Mm-hmm. It's a miserable day here on Wednesday right now, and I don't know if Friday it's going to clear out by then or what the deal is, but yeah, it's certainly not going to be balmy. It's not going to be the type of weather the Dolphins would have in Miami, that's for sure.
Yeah, division game. Yeah, I think the Jets will show up now that they got a new quarterback, even though he probably sucks too. But what doesn't suck, Chris, is you coming on the show and talking to our listeners. We really appreciate so much, my man. Where could our listeners get your great information in if they?
Bear Bets podcast, wherever you get your podcast, foxsports.com. The columns are up every week as well, and then Big Noon Kickoff on Saturday.
Yeah, you see Chris every weekend on Big Noon Kickoff. Keep checking it out. A huge thanks to Chris, man. Hey, have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great time with your family, and we'll be watching you this weekend, my man.
Great. Thanks, Kev. Have a great holiday.